Hi, welcome back. In this video, we will learn about the pseudo classes in CSS. So according to MDN, a CSS pseudo class is a keyword added to a selector that lets you style a specific state of the selected element or elements. Basically, we have seen pseudo classes before as well, something like this hover, and there are some other things like this visited, which we have seen previously. So in this video, what I have done, I have just opened up the most used pseudo classes which we want to know. But if you want to know more about the pseudo classes, you can go to MDN documentation, and there is a whole bunch of pseudo classes which we can use. And you can see we are not going through each and everything right now because some of them are pretty niche and we do not use that quite often, all of the pseudo classes, but which we use, we will talk about those. Okay, so let's get started then. First of all, what I'll do, I will go to the code, and what I'll do, I'll just get rid of this paragraph, and then I will have only 3 of the paragraphs. So 1, okay, so 1, 2 and 3. So I'll just get rid of that. So these are the paragraphs with some lorem ipsum text. That is all. Okay. And then what I'll do, I'll create some of the things. For example, I'll create an UL and then li item 1 and copy them sometime. So it will be 2, 3, 4. Basically, we are just scaffolding our HTML so that we can learn about the pseudo classes. Okay. 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then what I'll do, I'll just copy paste that 2 more time. Okay, and then what I'll have a form. Okay, the action, I don't want that. And then inside of that I can have a div of input for text, placeholder, let's say something like name, doesn't matter, right? And we can have an id of name, and then we can have a label of name and name. Okay, name. All right, and let's capitalize this one. Okay, and I'll copy that sometime, which is the, what do you call, email. I'll just copy that. Okay, email and email, something like this, email. Okay, and here we have inside of this container, let's add the width of 600 pixels, and I'll get rid of this one. Okay, the sibling combinators. Okay, all right, so we have some of the text here. Okay, so the first one which we will learn here is the hover pseudo class. What is that? Basically, whenever we are hovering over some of the things, some element, we can add some specific styles at that particular hovering time. Okay, so what I can do, I can set some hover to this h1 as well. So what I'll do, h1 and then colon hover, and then do something like color of this one, the blue violet one. Okay, hit save. And now if I go to the browser, now whenever I am hovering to this h1, then it will be the blue violet color. And please remember, whenever I am hovering to this particular space as well, in the white space, basically the h1 is a block level element, right? Remember that. So that is why it is spanning across the whole screen. So whenever I am hovering to the H1, we can have this color. Okay, we can change some other things as well. We can add a border as well. So border like 5 pixel solid salmon. Okay, something like this. Save, and now whenever I am hovering to this H1, we are adding this border. So you get the idea. Whenever we are hovering on top of some element, we can add some particular styles at the time of the hovering. Okay, now the other thing which we have already learned is something called the active pseudo class. Okay, so the active pseudo class represents an element such as a button that is being activated by the user. So as you can see, whenever I am clicking into that, so there is this shadow is going on, like shadow is being added. Okay, so we can add that to something like the same thing with our button as well. So we can do button and colon active, and let's do something like font size of 20 pixel. Okay, hit save and go to the browser. And right now, if I just click on this button, so as you can see, our button is getting bigger. I will just add that a little bit, let's say 60 pixel. Now it will be much more bigger. Okay, now it is quite visible. Okay, our button is now, whenever we are clicking, basically whenever the button is active, we are changing some styles. Okay, so this is the active pseudo class which we have learned. Then let's learn about the focus pseudo class. Basically, whenever we are focusing into some elements, then we can add some particular styles. So here, whenever I am focusing, as you can see, it is adding the light blue background color. So we can do the same thing in our form as well. So basically it is used in forms, but you can have something like, if I just press tab, so as you can see, this is being selected, then tab once again, the email is being selected, and then tab once again, this particular button is selected. Okay, so it is being focused right now. So whenever we are pressing tab, it is being focused. Okay, so what we can do here, we can add the input of something like focus. Whenever the input is focused, let's do the font size, or let's do the background color of something like what we have, get it blue, something like that. Save, and now if I just focus onto this input, so the background color changes. Here the background color is also changes. Okay, so whenever we are focusing, the background color is changed. So this is the focus pseudo class. Okay, then one of the things which I didn't open the tab for, but we have another pseudo class which is for the disabled inputs. So what I can do, I can go here inside of that, and this input I can set disabled. So this disabled attribute is a Boolean attribute. Okay, please remember that. So it is now disabled. So now if I go to our code here, so now I cannot select this input. Okay, so what we can do, we can add some particular styles as well. So if the input is disabled, then what we want to add a background color of something like brown, something like that. Okay, and cursor to okay, cursor to, let's see, okay, so I want something like disabled or something like that. So help or not allowed. Okay, so here it is. Okay, not allowed. So now if I go here, and if I like get to my cursor, right now the cursor is setting to not allowed and the input is now disabled. That is why the styles are being applied to this disabled input. But here we can select that. Okay, so here it is. Now let's learn about the other things, we can have some other like pseudo classes as well. One of them is this first child. Okay, so if we go here and search for that, so it is under okay, it is under this one, the tree structural pseudo classes. Okay, so we have this nth child, first child, last child, and so on and so forth. Okay, so here if we go here, okay, so as you can see, this is the li, and for this pseudo class it is just selecting the first element of the particular li. Okay, which we can do as well. So we have these li's as well. So what I can do, I can do li, okay, and then do first child. The first of the li's will have a border of 2 pixel solid, and let's do something like slate blue. Hit save and go to the browser, and now each of the first li's which we have are now styled. Okay, so it is selecting the first li's. Then we have the first of type. What is that? So the first of type pseudo class represents the first element of its type. Okay, so here we have these things as well. So what I can do, I can go here, and what I'll do, I'll just comment out everything right now because there are a bunch of styles going on. Okay, so let's do, we have these paragraphs. Okay, so let's do something like paragraph of first of type. Okay, and then we can do a border of 2 pixel solid and do salmon, something like that, or sea green, something like this. Okay, by the way, why I am using borders, because the borders are not inherited. Okay, the colors are inherited, so I am not using the colors. So if I go to our browser right now, the first paragraph element of this page, like the first type of paragraph element, is now having the styles. Okay, so this is the first of type. So at the same time, we have the last child, which is basically selecting the last child. Okay, last of the elements, and we have the last of type. So what we can do, we can have the same things as well. So I can just do something like li last child, and then I can just copy this one as well and paste that, and I can do the paragraph of last of type. And here what I can do, I can just get rid of that. Let's do olive, something like this. I'm not sure if that will be good or not. Okay, so now if I just go to my browser once again right now, okay, these are very much matching colors. So let's do something like red, something like this. Okay, now it is visible. So the last of type, like the last paragraph which we have in this page, which is this one, has this border, like this reddish border, reddish brownish border, and the last li's have the border of the slate blue color. Okay, so yeah, that is basically that. And now we have the another one, which is the nth child, which is basically we can select the multiple elements at once, like we can add the even or odd or something like that. So what I can do, here, I will just comment out once again everything. So we have the clean slate right now, nothing is selected. Now what I can do, I can do the li and then do nth child, and let's do even. Let's do the something like pretty much simple at first, and then we will go to the even and odd. So let's do 2, and then enter, and then what I can do border once again of 2 pixel solid, and do the something like sea green. Okay, save, and then go to the browser. Right now, for each of the UL, the second li element has the styles. Okay, now what we can do, we can add an n here, add a n. Okay, so if I just do that, then what will happen, the 2n, like the elements which are the multiples of 2, okay, will have the styles. Okay, so here it is. Now we can add something like even as well, even. If I just save, then the all of the even numbered elements will have the styles. We can add the odd as well, odd, and then what will happen, the odd number of elements will have the styles. And we can do something like, if you have done something like in your maths, like how to define an odd number, so we can do 2n plus 1 plus 1. The 2n was for the even number, and whenever we are adding plus 1 to that, then we are getting the odd number. Okay, right now each of the odd numbers will be styled. Okay, so this is the nth child. Okay, then similarly we have the nth of type. Okay, nth of type. So what I can do, I can show it to you as well. So let's do p paragraph of nth of type. Okay, and then what I can do, let's see the documentation here. So we can do the even as well. So I want to do odd, and then do border and do 2 pixel solid, and then do something like blue violet. Okay, our favorite color. So right now if I go to my browser, now all of the paragraphs which are odd, okay, so the odd numbered paragraphs 1 2 3, so 2 will not be, the second one will not be styled, but the first and the third one will be styled. Okay, so this is the nth of type. Then we have this one, the visited one. So it is the pseudo class. Whenever we have an anchor element and we have visited the link, we can add that. Okay, so for just a quick reminder, what we can do right now, we can go here and we can add something like after this paragraph, let's do something like a paragraph once again, and anchor element https://google.com. okay, Google, copy that down sometime. Okay, let's do, so let's do one thing for the MDN as well. So developer.mozilla.org. so let's do something like this. So yeah, okay, so I can just remove that. So MDN, okay, for Mozilla Developer Network, and I can go to W3 schools. Okay, and then what I can do, I can just copy this one and paste it down here. Okay, and then I can say like W3 schools. Okay, so we have these links right now. Okay, so it is inside of the paragraphs, that is why the styles are being added. So what I'll do, I'll once again comment out these styles as well, and then what we can do, we can do something like the anchor elements which are visited, let's do a font size of 60 pixel. Okay, all right, so let's do that. So if I just visit MDN, okay, and go back. Okay, all right, let's refresh that. let's not do font size. I think it is not being applied. Let's do color of something like red, something like that. Hit save. And now, okay, everything is visited because I have like visited the Google MDN and W3 schools before. So yeah, basically whenever we have some visited links. So I can show it to you as well. So if I just copy paste that one more time, and now I can do something like youtube.com and then do YouTube here and hit save. Right now this link is kind of blue, right? Because it is not visited. But if I visit that link, that will be styled as red as well. Okay, then we have this one. This is the target. So the target pseudo class selects the target element of the document. When the document is loaded, the target element is derived using the document's URL fragment. So yeah, basically that. So this is something like if you have some sort of ID, basically, right? So you can just have, for example, the following URL has a fragment identifier denoted by this one, this ID. And if there is some link which is in the target, basically, okay, so we can just have some different styles for that. Okay, we have these ones. So p target I, basically that. So yeah, then we have the root, and this is a very important one. So the root pseudo class matches the root element of the tree representing the document. So it is selecting the, basically selects the root element of the document. HTML, in the case of HTML, basically it will select the HTML, but we can change the root as well in the code. So we have this root pseudo class, and this is one of the very important ones, because whenever we are declaring some sort of variables in CSS, which we will definitely learn something like this, we use the root pseudo class to do that. Okay, so this is very, very handy and very, very important for us. All right, and then last but not the least, we have the not pseudo class in CSS, and it is basically having the not, like, hey, if the element is not an h1, then apply the styles. So something like that. So I can show it to you as well. So if I can just comment that. Okay, so here, as you can see, so colon not, it is the syntax, and then we have the irrelevant or something like that. So what I can do colon not, okay, and then do h1. If the element is not h1, then apply border of 2 pixel solid and salmon to all of that. So here, if I go to my browser right now, so everything has a 2 pixel solid border except for the heading, okay, this h1. Okay, now what we can do basically, but right now what we are seeing here is that it is selecting, if I just go here, there are two borders here, right? So this is for the body and this is for the HTML. So it is selecting the HTML as well. So what we can do, we do not want to select the HTML. So we can just do body, and under which everything you can select, and then do the border thing. Okay, so inside of the body, check for all of the elements. If the element is not an h1, then apply the border. Okay, so here it is. So it is applying the border for all of the elements here. So yeah, these are basically some of the most used pseudo classes in CSS. Okay, there are a bunch of pseudo classes. Okay, the list goes on and on and on. We did not have covered all of them, but we have covered most of the most used ones. Okay, so yeah, these are the pseudo classes in CSS.